Welcome to the Now Show! I'm Joseph Mojo McCarthy. I didn't say that very well. I am Joseph Mojo McCarthy. I'm the co-host of the Now Show, established by Dan the Bard right below me, and we'll tell you about all our stuff that we got going right now, right here. Welcome to the Now Show!
Woo! Woo! Yeah.
Woo! All right, welcome everybody to the Now Show because it's happening. Hey, everybody, all together. When is this show happening?
Now.
Right. This is the right now because it's right now
Right now.
we're doing the Now Show. So this is the right now. I am Joseph Mojo McCarthy. I'm a creative communicator, a polymath. I do graphic design. I do music. I do writing. I do a whole bunch of stuff. You can find that at mojo.studio, which is right there on the screen somewhere. I can't point at it because that's requires a part of my brain that isn't quite alive yet. So I'm happy to be here.
I got you, friend, right there.
Right. I'm happy to be here with Dan the Bard, which is right below me on your screen. Dan is the brainchild behind this. And I'm just thanking the good Lord that he's decided to send me a text one day. He said, I've got this idea and I keep putting it off and I keep putting it off because I think I'd have to have it all together before I go live. But what if we just learn as we go? And I answered one text. I said, when? And then we started.
Now.
It's now. So it has morphed into the Now Show, and we are now in week 6, I believe. Third day of week 6, which makes 25, 26, 27 episodes and live right now. So I'm going to pass it back to Dan. Dan, introduce yourself, and then give it to Mary, and then I'll introduce our new guest for today.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm Dan Roeder. I'm the Chief Academic Officer for the David Z Foundation, where we transform lives through the magic of music. And what you saw earlier at the beginning of the show was a song called Make the Change, written by students in Malaysia, in Sarawak, Malaysia. And that was just a treat to work with them. It was, I think, 2 years ago now. And they've won a couple of international awards for that song, and just super, super proud. So I am also an edu creator, a PEAR-former, and a composer, film, musical theater, all the things. And I'm actually learning to become a producer. So that's what I've been doing this year. And it's been just a joy working with Mojo and Mary, and kind of combining and building bridges really across networks, and discovering a lot of mind babies. So over to you, Mary.
That's right.
Oh, you're muted. I didn't do that. No, you're not muted. I just can't hear you.
Get it?
Oh, now we're good. You're good.
Okay.
Please don't move nothing.
I'm Awesome Mary, and I'm Awesome Mary on all platforms, and I live in the beautiful state of Colorado. I am the producer of this Now Show, and just hang out with these guys and have a great time learning about new people.
By the way, Mary's also the producer of 2 amazing children, right?
That's a good production.
To a whole nother level, baby.
Producer for show.
Kind of producer that I will never be. Just saying. All right, and I'm gonna take back the microphone right here and just say, first of all, how grateful I am to work with Dan and Mary, because we didn't plan this out. It is actually developing. It is being created on the fly. And I love operating that way because you never know what you're going to get, just like a box of chocolates. But here's the deal before I pass it to Tim, is that even if we planned it all out, we'd never know what we're going to get. So that's a false sense of security, a false notion that, oh, if I make this plan and I have it all put together, then it's going to follow the plan. How many can raise your hand and say, yeah, life has followed the plan? Oh, not me. I don't know about you. Anybody?
Always
Bueller?
works so well.
Bueller?
Life always.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I've had the good fortune of meeting Tim, our guest, Tim McCaffrey, who is the twin brother of Christian McCaffrey, the star in the NFL. No, okay, maybe not. But you can
That's how rumors start.
Exactly.
But speaking of the NFL, I've actually been in Tim's home for the last 3 Super Bowls with also a guest that we had previously on the show, Steve Hayes. Steve Hayes was actually the mentor to Tim, and now Tim is an amazing educator like Dan, but in a different way. And so, Tim, would you introduce yourself and let people know who you are, where you are, and what you're up to right now?
Yeah, you know what, guys, this is so rad that I get to join you guys today, and just feeling the vibes right now just always pumps me up, and that just wants me to keep going and doing what I'm doing each and every day. And so just even alone in the introductions, I'm already inspired, like, heck yeah, like what we do each day is worth it. And so my name is Tim McCaffrey, and I'm the principal in a school in Fontana Unified School District in Southern California. School is called Chaparral Academy of Technology. We are a K-5 public school, and we absolutely love creating a culture where scholars love coming to. Basically, creating a school where like Mondays are the place to be. And so,
that's awesome.
And so, really, a lot of the creative aspects of what you guys are really talking about is what we want to pour into here. We don't want education to be a place where we stifle kids to ask questions, to be creative, be a place where that's a platform where it can be expounded on. And so let's break down those walls and let's allow kids a creativity in who they are sprout out as we as adults tear down those walls, right? As you know, maybe we didn't get that experience as a child, but we understand that kids need that today.
Yeah. So I want to have Tim expound a little bit. He just kind of glossed over the fact that scholars, he used the word scholars. Now, not a lot of principals that I know call their K through 5 students scholars. In fact, Tim has a very specific language for the kids, for the teachers, and we would call them, normally we call them students and teachers. Tim's got a whole nother mindset, and it's very intentional. Tim, tell them about how you've intentionally changed the names of the constituents of the people who make up your school and why.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we all would agree that the language that we use sets mindsets. And when we have a specific mindset, then we start to believe it, and then we just live that out, right? And so the reason why that we call our students here scholars is that this is a place where not only are they learning, but they're questioning and they're learning from one another. And that is a huge part of our pedagogy here. Pedagogy is a word used for like how we learn. And so we really move away from it's the teacher that is the main person with the wealth of information and knowledge, and we want to pull those things out of our scholars, and we do that strategically by whether it's our Kagan grouping structures. We do that by a particular type of questioning, but we put scholars in opportunities where they can collaborate, present, and share ideas. And then of course for all of our staff here, we actually created a term where we took staff and teachers and we called it staffalty. And so every adult here is called a staffalty. Yeah. And basically the short definition of that, it is the cheerleaders, it is the coaches, it is the adults on campus that pour life into kids. And the reason why we did that is, man, regardless of whatever role that you play, when you are an adult on campus, and when you live with that intentionality, you are changing legacies. You are changing family trees by your interactions with every scholar. And so when you see, let's just say, take Julian when he comes on campus, man, just your face-to-face interaction like you're about to have with him, you really can change that child's trajectory. And so we're all staffalty here, and we really try to elevate one another as we're all on the same goal of pouring life into kids. And so we try to break down those walls of, there's principal, then there's teachers, and then there's our classified staff. We try to all be on the same page that we are working collectively towards that one common goal.
Yeah, baby.
That's amazing.
So when I first visited Tim in his school, a different school he was at, his previous principal, I walked in and the first thing I saw was this full-on studio with cameras, backdrops. It looked like the set from The Tonight Show or Whoopi or whatever it would be full-on staging, and there was like all these cool different backdrops you could use and the cameras. And I was like, are we? Is this like we're Universal? Did I end up Universal Studios or where are we at? And this is a grade school, right? This isn't a high school. And Tim's like, we're not limited by age to be creative. We're born to be creative, right? And so he takes the scholars and puts them behind the camera, on the mic, in front of the camera. They're producing and editing and creating videos. And I'm like, where was this when I was a kid, man? That's so dang freaking cool. Tim, what was it?
Yeah.
Tell a bit about your philosophy behind having a full-on production studio in a grade school.
Well, and you most definitely hit it right on that. We were born to be creative, very unique. And if we do look at education, in many times it's still in the industrial revolution where it's that factory mentality. Kids may not be in rows now, they may be in like, groups of 2 or even like in 4, but you have to look at what is the cognitive load of like each assignment and each day that kids are experiencing. And if you just look at that each day collectively, that's what you should expect as an outcome. And so scholars, just like really, I mean, just people in general are all created uniquely. And so the work of doing video work, which is from the start of even starting with an idea, writing them like on boards, right? And then people conversing back and forth about developing that idea and narrowing it down to like, what is our goal? Who is our audience? Script writing, and then all of the rest with video editing and videography. I just found that avenue taps into many forms of creativity. And so, I mean, I don't think that there's like one media form that covers them all, but I do know that one is a big one right there. And so I've kind of really focused on that one. This is my first year here at Chaparral Academy of Technology. And so we have just begun the process of creating our own studio here. That will be in the making, but it really is a beautiful thing. If you just give scholars the opportunity, give them tools to do it, you're going to see kids rise up. And it's always the adults. We are the gatekeepers. We either open up doors or we close doors, depending on how we see kids and our expectations.
Yeah, but that's not just true of how we see kids, it's how we see ourselves, right? We open or close the gates of creativity for ourselves because we believe we can or believe we can't. To steal a quote from Henry Ford, he says, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. What's he mean by that? He means our mindset, as you talked about, our belief system determines our actions. But here's the cool thing about this is that is malleable. It's called neuroplasticity. It's not set in stone. And so, Tim, I grew up in an era where they said you get to be about 7 years old and you've already 90% of your brain has been developed. So there's just very little that you're going to learn after that. And that sounds kind of fatalistic, right? Well, what if I didn't have the opportunities or the exposure in my first 7 years that somebody else did? Am I then at a disadvantage for the rest of my life? Or what about the people on another side of the planet? They don't even have schools. Some of them don't even have parents, right? And does that mean that they're doomed to be stupid? And that's kind of the mentality when I grew up. But thank the Lord, thank the good Lord, that the science has proven that our brains in particular, our brains are always changing, and we actually have power over how they're changed. Neuroplasticity isn't just that our brains aren't solid, they're not like concrete. And it's so that whatever's formed at age 7, that doesn't determine me for the rest of my life. But also, this is one of the parts, and I want to get your take on this, Tim, because you've seen this in action, and you actually hinted at this earlier, that the words we use, both to ourselves and to each other, are actually informing our minds how to change, because it's always changing. But our minds are listening to our words in particular, right? Because our minds are basically built to prove us right. And so if we believe something, our mind's going to prove it right. That was the Henry Ford thing. But here's the deal with our words is that we can actually tell our minds what to believe, even if we don't feel it yet. So this is why mantras and affirmations are so powerful, right? Because if I say something enough, my mind is really listening to my voice primarily more than any other voice. And it's like, okay, so this is what we're doing now, right? So I can tell myself something enough until, as we all know, practice makes progress, and then progress makes permanent. That's actually too with the words used to create who my own identity was. So take it from there, Tim. What did you see?
You know what? I think you've hit it on perfectly right there. And I think that with kiddos, especially, to create the disposition to do hard things is instrumental, because and this is also true for even human beings in general, but for scholars, if they only did what they're comfortable doing, right, then we are building a box now for them, and they're going to learn to only stay within that kind of box. So, but that's supposed to be an area of exploring. Maybe I can go down this path right here. I mean, for me as a kid, I mean, I was a very shy kid. I had a very deep what do you call it, stutter, and it was so crazy that I didn't want to even speak in class, read, or anything like that. And I still even have it today. But one of the turning points in my life was that I had to make a decision, is that I'm either gonna face this or I'm just gonna make a box for myself, right? You know what I'm saying? And so when we build the mindset of kids, you know what, guys, we're gonna do hard things, and we're gonna try new things, and when you explore those things, you are now changing your mindset and what you believe about yourself. And so I think that's just crucial. The growth mindset movement is something big in education, but I think what it's missing is having that we're going to do hard things each day. What's one thing I can do if it's a little bit outside of my comfort zone? And that's how you really see what we're capable of doing.
Yes. So I'm going to pass it to my co-host in a second, but Tim, I just want to throw a word into your world that maybe you'll adopt, and I'm kind of going to be the champion of this word. So I've learned a lot about mindset. I study it at length, right? And it fascinates me. But actually, the word now, I don't like it very much, because mindset means that the mind is set. It sounds like concrete. I don't know if you remember when you're a kid, you create this mix. You need this in the backyard. It's called quickset. Mix the sand and the water, and if you don't get it down pretty quick, it's going to freeze there, and then you've got concrete, right? So mindset to me sounds too much like quickset, and mind is not set. Mind is flowing. So I'm replacing mindset in my language with mind flow, and I'm going to pass that on to you, Tim, for your scholars and for your staffaldy to replace mindset with mind flow, because I think that represents the possibilities much better than mindset. What do you think?
Well, most definitely. I mean, you're just actually sharing right now what the research shares right there. So right on, growth mindset, growth flowing, mind growth. I think all those kind of things are all in the kind of realm.
Yeah, I like to think of kind of mind channel, because that gives us, the agency that we can change our channel, change our thinking, because I think I agree. The word mindset implies this permanence, and we all know that our existence doesn't have a whole lot of permanence to it. That's the predictable thing, is change. Things are going to change. Change is motion, and motion is change. So I wanted to hop in and get your take on this, because of course I have an infographic for it.
You always do. Absolutely.
I do. Yeah. So this is something that it's a little small. Let me see because I know you're on a phone. So
I'm on a phone. I'm gonna see if I go sideways here.
He says expanding my window on my computer like it does anything for you. So basically, in essence, this is a combination of Maslow and Bloom. And as a teacher, I first learned, just little ed psych for anybody that is not kind of in the ed field. Maslow has this hierarchy of human needs, starting at the very base level, physiological, I'm safe. It's like the level 1 mechanism going off in our brain. It's binary. Am I safe? Yes. Am I safe? Yes. Am I safe? Yes. Am I safe? No. What changed? So that's going all the way from I'm safe in this place to I belong in this place, all the way to I'm self-actualized and I can move forward from this place and make my own place. That's Maslow is that top triangle. The bottom one is Bloom, still in the same Bloom order, but just with a slight focus of flipping Bloom to, focus a little bit of time on finding a fact, like finding something. We have some information, we have a given, that's this learning, and then remembering it, and then understanding it, and then how can I apply it, and then how can I analyze it, how can I evaluate it and use it in different ways, across different schema, and then finally, what can I create with it? And in the traditional sense of Bloom's taxonomy, we have like this big foundation of facts and knowledge on the bottom, and that's just kind of an homage to that industrial setting that we have. It's like, learn your job and do your job over and over and over again, and maybe you can become a manager of that job, and then maybe you can find a new kind of job and make your own little department within this place, and then maybe you can be an entrepreneur. Little chance of that. Right. So all this it's really, and that's why I have the clock on here, and it's interesting that this is in the context of the Now Show, because that clock is incredibly important. Where do we spend our time, especially as teachers? I put this I do, we do, you do formula that is kind of ingrained into education, where we model something, and then we collaborate, we do things together, and then we empower. We take the scaffolding off and say, okay, you do it. You're now responsible for this information or this skill or this task or whatever. So we move from this, like in Bloom's, there's that teacher modeling, like, I'm going to tell you something, and just I need you to trust that I'm older than you. I'm maybe wiser, maybe more experienced. I don't know, but I'm also a collaborator. So I'm going to tell you something, but I want let's together. Let's analyze it. Let's apply this information. Let's evaluate it together. And then the you do is creativity. And we're going to spend the most time in our classroom on that. When I was teaching in public school, I taught special education, and I had a project-based learning course. So everything you guys have been saying up to this point, I'm like, yes, because there's that discovery, that curiosity, that self-empowerment and engagement of interest. Like, that is such an important prerequisite to learning. And Dr. Imordino Yang, this is a great quote I always love, that it's neurobiologically impossible to learn deeply about something you don't care about. So,
read that again. It's so important.
Dr. Imordino Yang, it is neurobiologically impossible to learn or think deeply about something you don't care about.
Okay, pause right there. So let's turn it to a principal of a school who works with scholars and faculty every day, all day, every day. How does that apply? How do you see that applying in real time?
Oh, man, it's the way the teacher is the most important person really at the school, right? They're the one that makes the magic happen. That's why I believe in myself as a leader. I pour a lot of life and possibility into my teachers. I really try to take care of them, where they know without a shadow of a doubt, my principal has my back. And that's why I foster creativity. I foster, you can take risks, you can make mistakes, because if they are the ones that are going to do exactly what you just said right now, man, about being interested and wanting to learn about this, well, you have to create that kind of environment, right? An environment where kids feel safe, an environment where kids feel like they can make mistakes, an environment where they feel like they do belong. And when those things are set in place, so many times the content follows in, because the passion in which you are presenting and the information and the expectations that you have of scholars and engaging in it does follow that. And so I would probably say that it's really that social emotional foundation that you lay in a classroom, right? It's all about that climate and culture. That's like the foundation that you lay on which learning takes place.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Now, I'm going to pass the mic to Mary now, because Mary is an educator for her two children who are now grown. And do you see this played out in the home, Mary, as well? How does this apply to you as a mom with two kids? Are you muted?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, like I started with my kids. I started homeschooling them. I homeschooled them until my daughter was 4th grade, and then she came back to homeschool a few times. But yeah, I mean, just teaching them principles, teaching them ethics. Even there was a time where I was a manager at our church, coffee shop, and I put them in there to learn work ethics specifically. And so, yeah, just, and they were interested, and they have acquired really great ethics, just from the things that were taught when they were working in the coffee shop with me, and because they can hang around with other kids and maybe catch stuff that's not so great, but they went to great schools. They went to really good schools, especially here in Douglas County, Colorado. They have really, really good schools, and so we were always thankful for the teachers too. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking, as a parent, and I know we have running out of time here really quickly, but
My
quick
goodness,
story.
we are.
Yes. After COVID, Tim, you'll like the story too. After COVID, my daughters both were out of school for a year and a half, like everybody else was in California. And so my older daughter basically missed middle school. She got 1 semester of middle school, and she lost the rest of that year and the year after that. So now she comes into high school after being in her home, working from her laptop for a year and a half. And I take her to school every day for the first week of high school. She's a freshman in high school. And at Friday, on the way home, she says, "Dad, can I ask you a question?" I said, "Of course, anything." She says, "I don't get it." I said, "You don't get what, honey?" She says, "I don't get why do I sit at a desk for 7 hours every day as teachers are telling me information I can find online in about 20 minutes." Right?
Or less.
Yeah, or less. And she's
I
very
love it, dude.
smart. She's very smart, but she knows how to work it. She knows the tools. She uses them all the time. And she's asking a question out loud to me that a lot of kids are asking. And I want to get
Yes.
Tim's take on this, even though we have a few minutes left. So, Tim, the education system, as you said, was built on how to create a good factory worker. That's no longer valid in today's society. And the education system, from my perspective, not as a teacher or as an educator per se, is that it was pouring information into the buckets of the kids. Well, the
That's right.
kids now have more information than they can contain in the palm of their hand at all times, right? It's here.
Yep.
Ask information questions. They don't need more information. They've got all the information, more than we can imagine. And they get more every single day, terabytes of information. So what is the point of an education system that was built on pouring information into people who now have more information than they can contain? So that's the answer to my daughter's question. I want to hear from Mary. Mary, jump in first, and then we'll go to Tim.
So I have a quick question because Tim, my daughter went to Valor High School, which is actually where Christian McCaffrey was going to. And what you were describing, Mojo, about the way that your school is, that's how it is in their high school. And this is a high school. And my daughter ended up being directing her own play at 20 years old. It's what you said. Give them the tools and allow them to grow, because they already know how to use them. Just allow them to imagine with the tools.
Imagine.
Yeah, I love that right there. When you give kids agency,
Mhm.
and they know that they can ask questions like that, like, "Hey, what if we did this?" And you just respond, well, like, what if?
Yes,
So,
what
like,
if?
I'll just give a very short example right now. So here at this is again, like I showed, this is my first year here, and I think we ended up with close to about like 12 to 15 clubs here, and every one of those clubs that were created by our scholars. And I just started going around like recess. "Hey guys, come over here. What are you guys all like interested in?" "Oh, we like to do all this kind of painting kind of stuff." "Hey, we do like to dance, all this kind of stuff." "Okay, hey, so like who's here interested in actually doing more of that?" Right there, like, yeah. And I would just ask questions. "All right, guys. Well, if anybody wants to start a club, just come and hit me up during lunchtime in my office." It would be like kids all in the office, right? Which is very different because normally office space is like quiet, everybody's kind of like that. But kids are swarming in here. We have the posters up and we're writing down ideas. I just say, "Okay, so you five seem like you guys are interested in this. Why don't you guys go find an advisor now? Just start asking every adult on campus, can you be the advisor at a club? And then from there, start to plan things with them. And that's just one example right there of that. When kids know that that is the environment that they're in, they will ask more questions and they will want to create more. And so to your daughter, you know what, they would be an amazing institute if she would ask those kind of questions, and the teacher would be like, you know what, you're right. Let's see like how we can change that now. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here. What you're sharing about problem or project-based learning, we're on that road right now to do that here too.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So my
That is
two
awesome.
favorite questions, Tim, and I love what you're saying. Let's encourage kids to ask the question. You said, what if? And the other question to me is, what else? And if I just go through life asking what if and what else, because that means I don't know. It's actually an act of humility saying I haven't figured this out yet.
I love it.
And by the way, Tim was talking earlier about creating a box in your mind, like if it's a comfort zone, it's like creating a box. That box, you could, in my mind, I imagine a coffin, right? The box around your mind that you create is a coffin because it doesn't allow you to go outside. So you just as well be dead, right? And I don't want to be dead before I die. So let's blow the doors off. And here's two questions that can do it. This is a practical application of what you're saying. What if and what else? And I got to tell you, there are very specific stories I don't have time to tell in my education. Once in grade school and once in college, when I asked the questions, what if and what else, and I got shut down. I got shut down by a teacher who didn't like the challenge. She thought I was challenging her. I just wanted to find out.
Right.
And the teacher just railed on me in front of my friends, basically embarrassed me. And I was just a kid who wanted to know, right? I thought that's what school is about, to know. And I sort of asked the what if and the what else questions, and I got railed on publicly. And so I stopped asking the question. At least I stopped asking it in public. I ask it all the time in my mind, right? So what Tim is doing in the school system is so important in an information age. Kids don't need any more information. They need the tools and the exploration to find out the answers to their what ifs and their what else's, right, Tim?
Oh yeah, perfect right there. You know what? And that is because of the adults' mind flow, right?
Ooh, mind
teacher-
flow. There you go. Way to use it.
Right? They're right there, right? So that teacher did that because that was probably his or her experience. And so part of my work as a leader is, how do I provide an environment and do experiences for the adults here where all of our minds can shift? Because I have to take into account, not everybody grew up in that kind of an environment. And I didn't necessarily either, but because our mind is pliable, right? And it's been growing and shaping. And so now I want to take people along that journey, and it's worth the fight right there. And I just got to say that, not every school site is going to be the same journey in doing that, right? Because you may have folks that are just like, they are going to stick to the ground, right?
Like your last school, baby, like your last school, who unceremoniously let you go because you were too creative. I mean, that's the bottom line, right?
Well, I would say I was let go, but I was moved. I should say that, because I'm in the same district, and it was like a matter of because of I guess you could say the mind flows were different. When everyone's not on that same, right, it's a fit, exactly.
Well, there was a mindset
where,
and there was a mind flow, and the mindset couldn't take the mind flow.
Yes. Good one, yeah. You're in the mind flow now.
mind
So
flow, man, like I'm in it right now.
We got 1 minute before we go to music. I just want to say thank you so much to Tim McCaffrey for being here, to taking time out of his day. And Tim's got a lot of responsibilities as a principal, as you can imagine, and he piles onto the regular responsibilities all this creativity that he just is pouring out of him, and he pours into his scholars and his faculty. And what a joy to feel that energy. Thank you, Tim, for sharing with us today.
I love that.
the word
And thank you for
faculty.
teaching us new words.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yes.
for teaching words, Tim. That's awesome. I love that. Scholars
Thank you,
and
guys.
faculty. Yes.
Yeah. So it is actually time to already go to music, but I just wanted to highlight real quickly, if you want to see the different resources we talked about, you can head to chatmosa.com, look for the giant pear that's over there, or you can go to the QR code that's on your screen. But Tim, thank you again for being here and for dropping all that knowledge. And we definitely have to have you back for a part 2. I would say sooner than later, or part 1.5. So, yeah.
Well, I'm going to hit you up here, do like in a few days, man,
Yeah.
because we're
Let's for a
creating
few
that
minutes.
song.
Yeah. Sweet. Let's do it. Yeah. All right. Over to you, Mojo.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. all your life. You were only waiting for this moment to arise. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see all your life. You were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly into the light of the dark black night. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly into the light of the dark blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly all your life. You were only waiting for this moment to rise. You were only waiting for this moment to rise. You were only waiting for this moment to rise.
Woo! Awesome. All right, everybody, go out and create a beautiful now, and we will see you next time on
See
the
you
Now
tomorrow.
Show.
Get the
See you
right
tomorrow.
Peace.
Right.
Tomorrow.
Peace.